Hello and welcome to ET Now. I have with me the Revenue Secretary Tarun Bajaj, who's also handling the economic affairs charge as of now. Very welcome to ET Now, sir.
Thank you.
I will start with probably what I am assuming is the good news, because you have not extended the date on income tax return filing. So how has been the collection, if you would like to give us an insight?
So as far as the return filing goes, I think the return filing has been good. Till last night, till 12, which was the deadline, we have received 5.83 crore returns, and they are almost the same as we received last year by 31st of December. I may also add that on the last day, that is yesterday, in spite of the fact that it was a Sunday, we got 72.42 lakh returns, and the day previous to that, that is Saturday, we got about 57 lakh returns, and both the days these returns are higher than the highest returns ever received in the history of income tax. So I'm very grateful to the taxpayers, to all the professionals, to my own team and to the Infosys team to have held up and ensured that the filing was mostly seamless and people have risen to the occasion, and we have shown that in spite of the fact that only 10 days were given with the notice that there will be no extension, people have risen up and they have contributed and the returns have been filed.
Coming to this year's direct income tax collection, that also we have seen the first tranche, quite good numbers. What is the status as of now?
I think we are doing well so far. If you recall, last year we had an increase of 49% in our revenues as compared to the year previous to that. And this year too, we are 41% plus as far as direct tax revenues are concerned as on yesterday. And some of the figures would come in because a lot of self-assessment tax would have been paid by these taxpayers who filed their returns. So that data would be visible to us in the next 2-3 days. So I'm sure this is a very healthy figure, and we'll continue to have a similar figure of about 40%. If you are able to have an increase of 40%, I think that shows the strength of the economy, the fact that we are coming back from the COVID days, economy is doing well, and also that compliances have improved. Our technology is working. We are letting people know what their tax liability is, and the people are also now coming up and paying their taxes. So that's a good sign for the economy as a whole.
There were some glitches on the website that is managed by Infosys on the new portal. Has that issue been sorted permanently?
I think as you would have seen, and I saw a number of tweets yesterday, it is anecdotal though, that a lot of people said that till the last moment, till the last day, the portal was working fine. So I would say that everything has been good. Sometimes it so happens that I am not quite aware of the navigation that I have to do, and I face some problems on the way. So I would also compliment the team that was sitting on the help desk 24/7 for the past few days, and that was helping out people to navigate in filing their returns. So I would say more or less it is sorted out. Not even more or less, I think it is sorted out, and which is proved by the fact that we have been able to file. Now if you say 74 lakh returns, there have been many hours when more than 5 lakh returns were filed per hour. So on an average also 3 lakh returns being filed per hour for the last day is a huge number. So that is about 5,000 returns every minute being filed. So that's a very good number, and I think as we go along we'll only improve further.
If you look at the GST revenue as well, it has just come in 1.49 for the last month, for the previous month. That also shows a healthy trend in the GST collection. For this financial year, what has been the collection and what is your expectation? Because will we exceed the budgeted target?
Okay. Before I answer this question on the direct taxes itself, I'll say that we have received a number of suggestions from people of their experience this time. We have taken note of them, and I can assure you and to your audience through you that we will further improve our portal for the next year. We will make the filing of returns more simplified and ensure that we put in more data in the automatically it comes in onto your returns, so we'll make it much more easy. Coming on to the GST, we have done 1.49 lakh crores in this month, which means the month of July. This is the second highest ever since GST came into being. So that's again a very good number. It's a very good sign that again the economy is showing an upswing, and also the fact that the compliances are showing some results, and we are now on board for a stable and a healthy GST return. I'm also happy to say that for the first 4 months, that is April to July, our GST figures are 35% more than what they were last year. So this is the buoyancy, as you can well imagine, is much more than 1, maybe close to 2. So that is a very healthy number. Maybe we may not be able to sustain this 35%, but I'm sure that we'll have a very healthy growth. Last year also we grew by almost 30%. So if we can grow by 30% in the current year, I think on the GST side also we are home. Yes, we need to make some more improvements on the GST side, on the policy side, on the technology side, and we are simultaneously working on it, and also ensuring that we sensitize our taxpayers, our own officers, to ensure that GST payment also becomes a seamless affair.
If we look at the overall budgeted tax figures, there will be a necessity for you to increase that, because then because since you're currently handling the additional charge of economic affairs, also you have to keep in mind the fiscal deficit and the additional borrowing. And this year we have seen a number of additional expenditures. On that account, what is your expectation of increase in the total tax revenue, if I can ask?
So Meghna, we are very early in the financial year. We'll see how we go. But I can say on certain expenditure, as you very rightly said, on the food subsidy, on the fertilizer subsidy, and something on OROP, there is some extra expenditure, and that is an additional cost on the budget. But as I have told you that on the GST and the direct taxes, we hope to recover more resources than what we had anticipated. But at the same time, I may also say that on the excise duty, we had reduced our excise duty by 5 rupees and 7 rupees on petrol and diesel. So that also we'll have to keep that in account. So there will be a reduction on excise duty. Then there has been a reduction on the non-tax revenue quite a bit, as came out in the newspapers in the first quarter analysis. Because the RBI dividend has gone down from almost 1 lakh crores last year to 30,000 crores this year, and there have been some other things, and let's see how the disinvestment process goes on. But overall, I feel at this point of time, having seen the DEA a little bit for the past few days, I can say that there are no plans for any additional borrowing, and there is also a confidence that we have that we'll be able to stick to our fiscal deficit of 6.4.
Since you talked about that reduction in the excise duty, I wanted to ask you, the last year I think the amount that we collected through excise duty was rupees 4 lakh crore, and now we have imposed this additional windfall gain tax also. So will we be able to maintain that same level of excise duty collection?
The relief that was given was about 1 lakh crores. So, and the windfall tax, as you may have seen, the windfall tax can go up or down. To start with, we had a rate of about 23,250 on crude and 11 rupees on diesel, and similarly some 6 rupees on petrol and ATF. But in the next lot, the export duty on petrol went away, and only diesel also came down and ATF remained. And I think the next review is due today or tomorrow. We are getting the figures from petroleum, and we'll be working on that. So that is one can't say as to what is the revenue that we'll get from there. It will depend on the crude prices and the crack margins that prevail in the market. And I don't think so. If I have to put my foot there, I won't say that I expect that this 1 lakh crores will be covered up by the windfall tax. No way. But yes, we will definitely be better off than losing 1 lakh crores if this windfall tax continues. At the same time, I would also like to say, if the prices of crude come down, if the prices of cracks come down, they help the economy even more, because then the current account deficit is taken care of. The prices, the retail prices on the consumers are not affected as much, and the oil companies also will be more comfortable. So if you ask me, I'll rather prefer the oil prices to cool down than for me to gain windfall taxes.
Since you said that the review again, the next review is due in 1 or 2 days, looking at the current oil prices, do you think that there may be a case again to further reduction of this windfall taxes?
Let's see what the figures come from there. There have been not many changes in the crude prices. On the cracks, there may have been some changes. I'm not aware of it, but whatever comes, I think in the next day or two, we'll come out with our next 14-day notification as to what the taxes would be.
So if the crack rate has come down, then we can reduce, because petrol is already done away with. So now ATF and diesel remain. So then if the crack rate has come down, we may look at reduction in further of those.
Yes, but at the same time, if the cracks go up, you might also see an increase in the windfall tax. So it will depend on what the windfall is.
Coming to the rupee, it did cross the 80 level mark that we were fearing it will cross. So what is your outlook currently on the rupee, and is that a major worry for you?
Rupee, if you say crossing 80 rupees, and it created a lot of buzz in the media, but I would say that in terms of the rupee going to 80 or 79.5 is not a reflection in a sense of the economy of the country. If you see, it is not the rupee weakening, I would say it is the dollar strengthening, and the dollar has strengthened much more vis-a-vis euro, sterling pound and the yen, and Indian rupee has also strengthened against the three currencies. So I would say yes, any depreciation in the Indian rupee has an impact in terms of our import bill, our current account deficit. So to that extent, it is always a matter of concern, but as of now, we have lost about 6 to 7% since January on the currency. And if we compare this with 2013 taper tantrum days or 2008 financial crisis days, we are far better off. So in a sense, our economy is fine. If you see, even the FPIs have returned in the month of July, and there is a positive inflow of the money that is coming in. So let's see how the economy moves further from here. And it's a matter of concern, but not a matter of great worry for us. And the exchange rate will find its place, and I think we can work with it.
But are you in touch with RBI, having any kind of discussions for them to manage rupee to some extent?
I won't say that we keep in touch with them on a specific issue, but we are always in touch with them with all kinds of issues, and there is always a conversation that is going on between the RBI and the government and the RBI, and not only on this issue but many other issues also.
On the bond yields also, they are, I think, much above the comfort level of the government, 7.4, 7.5. What is your view on the bond yields, and again then any discussions with the RBI to manage the bond yields?
So I think bond yields are also a reference to what is happening the world over and what is happening to the Indian economy. Once the interest rates are being raised by the Reserve Bank of India, it was expected that our rates would go up. But if we look at the rate gap between us and the treasury bonds of the US, I think we are in a comfortable position, and it's not a matter of great concern to us that it has reached a figure of 7.5. I think we were expecting these kind of figures, and it's quite comfortable for us to have these numbers.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, the current level of bond yields you feel is comfortable for the
government. Given the
government?
present situation, they are fine, and with the Reserve Bank of India also raising the policy rates, I think it was expected that the bond yields would also go up, plus the fact that the bond yields are going up elsewhere in the world, so money is also flowing out. So I think it was a clear reflection that this would happen.
There was a budget announcement on the green bonds as well. How far we have moved, and how soon can we announce this green bonds, and what could be the issuance size?
I won't comment on the issuance size because all those things are still to be worked out, but I can say that there's been a lot of work which has happened in the ministry in terms of green bonds, and we would be coming out very soon with what we are planning to do with green bonds, and this year we should be raising some amount in the green bonds in the current financial year, as was announced in the budget.
There has been a long pending work, I think, that the Finance Ministry is working on the India sovereign bond listing on foreign indices. Where are we on that, and has that been put on a back burner as of now?
It's not been put on the back burner. As you would know that there is a conversation going on BEPS. So there is this discussion between countries happening that the tax arbitrage should go away, and the corporates who are trying to, or who avoid paying taxes because they go to a particular jurisdiction, we need to have a check on that. So as part of those discussions, there are also discussions on some items like subject to tax rules which deal with capital gains, and also this issue. So we are negotiating with the countries on that issue. So if that issue gets settled, then all the countries will be at par and there will be no issue. If for some reason we are not able to get a positive response from the other countries on that, and finally we are not able to get that, then maybe a call can be taken sometime next year.
Okay. So this year the sovereign bond listing is not in the picture.
So you're basically, if you're asking me whether the issue of capital gains on the sovereign bond listing will be addressed so that they can come up with a issue, I think that will take some time.
As far as inflation, if I can ask you, we have come down if the last month figures that we see, but it is still much beyond that the mandated 4 plus minus 2%, the range that we have. What will you say on that, and when do we expect the inflation to taper down?
So the inflation has already come down. I think from April it was somewhere about 7.8, 7.9. We came down to almost 7 in the last month. And this month we are expecting that the inflation might be still lower than that figure of 7%. And Reserve Bank of India is working on it. It's having its Monetary Policy Committee meeting also in the next few days and will come out with some announcement. So I think Reserve Bank of India is quite cognizant of this fact that they are above the threshold limit of 6%, and they are working on it. And if we look at the inflation in our country and compare it with what is happening in the West, I think we are still under control, and also our inflation rate in the last 3 months has seen some the figure coming down. So that's a good sign, and I'm sure in the next few months the Reserve Bank of India, by taking a number of steps, and also the Government of India taking a number of steps, we are keeping a close watch on the prices of agriculture commodities, oil prices. We are tinkering with duties on that. So we should be able to ensure commodity prices have come down in the world. So all that will have an impact, and I think that also we should be able to have some control on, and we'll be able to handle it.
Okay. Opposition members, they are raking up the issue that the GST increase, that has been put at 5%, the packed and unlabeled items, so that also is contributing to the current inflation. Was that decision taken right by GST Council, or was it too early because of the current inflation scenario?
So I won't say, I don't have statistics as to what it is contributing. It came into being only on the 18th of July, and we are now only at the month end. So how much of that has contributed, I think it is quite anecdotal, or just a perception that people may have. Just to say that this issue is a council issue. It is not a Government of India issue. It is not a state government issue. The council discusses it, and the council just doesn't discuss it. It is discussed in the officers committee. After that, there was a group of ministers, and it consists of various states, different states, and also then the council. And the council took a consensus and a unanimous decision on making these changes. And some of the changes that have been made is not to increase the tax rate, but to ensure that the arbitrage that exists goes away. Otherwise, a lot of large brands, prominent brands, were trying to sell their goods in the guise of pre-packaged goods and not paying taxes, and the other branded goods were writing to us saying that this is creating a problem for them, because a 5% margin in an FMCG product is a huge margin, and it creates that imbalance in the market. So I think taking into all that account, The GST Council in its wisdom, and I may also say that this didn't happen off the cuff. This has been discussed in detail. It has gone through the processes as I explained to you, and only then this change has been made. So I think it is a very conscious view of the GST Council, which consists of all ministers from the states and the central government who take a decision based on the facts and figures that they collect, and also on the feedback that they get from the respective states.
One more last question that I wanted to ask you, since you said the commodity prices have come down. There was the steel export duty also that was implemented not too long back. Is there a review being done, because now the exporters are saying their exports are being hurt and probably the prices have come down in the domestic market? What is the status as of now?
So I've also heard about it, but I think the Steel Ministry is taking a review of it. I think once the Steel Ministry comes back to us, we'll take a call on that. Earlier also we had a discussion with the Steel and Commerce Ministry when this export tax was levied on the steel products. So I think let's wait and watch. I'm sure Steel Ministry is taking a call on that.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for speaking to ET Now.
Thank you. Pleasure as always.